Now, I've not watched this clip back yet because of, frankly, shyness, because I know I was scared a bunch of times, so I'm not even sure what this clip is, but this is an exclusive moment from my time with Bear on the inner Hebridean Isle. Presumably, I'm wearing a kilt. We'll discuss what was going on underneath those kilts in a minute. Let's have a look at the clip.
Looking good. Okay, we're getting to the edge. Keep going, keep going.
Oh, God.
That's great. I'm right with you here. There you go, doing great. Doing great.
Straight, it's wide.
Straight and wide and leaning back.
Hey.
Yeah, solid. I love it. Really good. Keep them straight and keep them wide. Beautiful. Keep edging it out. Keep leaning back. Trust the system. The more you lean back, the easier it will be. There you go. Keep leaning back. Wide stance. Have a little look under you now. You'll love it.
Man.
You'll love it. No, you're smashing it. Brilliant, Russell. Well done. Total control. Super calm. Nice wide stance. Trust the system.
Trust the system. Oh God, sorry, clicked.
All the action.
Were you winding me up? Kept saying, like, the thing you were using to comfort me through that moment when I was raptoring or descending or abseiling or whatever it's called, that you kept saying, trust the system, trust the system. My main #1 defining characteristic is I cannot trust the system. I was so genuinely scared in that moment. And what about the bit when you go, Bear, have a quick look down? That's just cruelty. Cruelty.
Well, it's funny. No, you're the wrong person to said trust the system to. I do. No, it's the only time those words have ever come out of your mouth. You go, yeah, trust the system. I've got it. You know. The other thing that springs to mind is true pity and apologies to the crew who were underneath you on that cliff face, who'd rappelled down moments earlier. Well, I don't know if you can see on that clip, but Russell and me are wearing Scottish kilts, you know, which always traditionally is worn without underpants. And the crew definitely were yeah. I got text for weeks afterwards going, still in therapy from that cliff face. Still in therapy, still recovering.
Yeah, not only was it a kilt without underpants, but of course I was also wearing a harness. So it's like I was sort of proud of it. So it's like a harness around my naked genitalia. It was like that moment after we got out of, because like the moment, like I don't want to spoil too much of it, but it's available now if you, I guess, did they release them simultaneously on Disney? No, my episode's out in August, I think, but some of the other episodes are out now. But we jumped in. I just want to make this clear in case an accidental shot snuck in. The first thing we did was jumped in very, very cold water. The second thing we did was take off our underpants and put a kilt on. Like, even before we'd done anything dangerous, I was absolutely terrified, but I do now feel much more confident surviving in the wild, and certainly my ego was reduced to its minimum size along with everything else. So Bear, is that my episode's going to be out on August the 6th, by the way? Bear, how do you feel about, do you ever consider, how much at the forefront of your mind is it, the idea that you can survive in the wild? I know it seems a slightly ridiculous question, but do you ever feel that that's something that might be actually necessary? Is that the sort of thing you reflect upon, the fact that, things may not always be like this, we may not always be cosseted by systems of comfort?
I do, yeah. I mean, and that's a really interesting topic conversation. I've got lots on that. I mean, all I say is before we get onto that, just to wrap up Running Wild with you, I look back and I wonder actually what Russell learned from his time on the show. One is, how to tie a man skirt, basically, how not to get his testicles caught in the climbing harness, and how to sort of get thrown out of a seaplane at 40 knots before it takes off again. So I'm not sure how relevant those 3 skills are to the modern apocalypse, but all I say is it's a start, isn't it? It's a start.
Yeah, I now know how to be humiliated in front of ex-service people when I think my genitals have been shrunk to their absolute minimum capacity, and now I've got to climb up a mountain. I mean, there were just so many moments in that show where I felt like I've got no choice but to absolutely surrender. I mean, obviously, one of my key spiritual principles that I've been taught is you must surrender, you must surrender. And on that shoe, I felt like I've got no control. I don't know what I'm doing. I was genuinely frightened a number of times, and thank God that I have a religious and spiritual faith, because I don't think I would have got through it without that. So thank the Lord for that. But Bear, on this subject of survival, you mentioned that it is something you've reflected upon, the idea that it might at some point be necessary to utilize these skills, not for entertainment and to demonstrate the capacity that human beings have that is unexplored and unexpressed, but simply because we have to survive. So what do you make about that?
Well, I think survival is in our DNA, isn't it? It's been a key part, the key part of our evolution for hundreds of thousands of years. And I think there's a disconnect in suddenly the rapid pace of change that humanity's gone through over the last couple of hundred years, and actually even just the last 20 years, where it's been just not like a ripple of change. It's been a tsunami. And then to suddenly find yourself bereft of skills that have been passed down for so many generations. And, you know, I think it's no surprise that there is a disconnect and an anxiety in people, because it is in our DNA to be able to look after ourselves, to be able to look after our family, to know how to survive. And obviously in the modern world, survival takes many different, you know, it looks different to how it looked 100 years ago. But I think the smart people blend both of it. So you're not just, you know, a modern survivor in terms of technology, you know, but you've also got the skills to be able to, when things go wrong. And even when things don't go wrong, I meet so many men who come up to me and they go, just teach me a knot so I can tie the roof rack. Or teach me one simple thing so I can navigate if I haven't got my phone. You know, it's like, this isn't apocalypse stuff. This is like, my phone does work. I just happen to be in an area outside cell reception. So I still need to tie that roof rack. I need to know that knot. I need how to start a fire because I haven't got any, you know, firelighters or whatever. These aren't apocalypse skills. These are like just everyday skills that many men I find come up to me and feel bereft of. And obviously it's not a man thing, but I think it's been traditionally something that men want to feel that they can provide and protect. And therefore I think it's hard if you're brought up in a way where you have none of those things, whether you're a man or a woman. If you're brought up in a way where you're taught no practical skills, I think it's really hard. I think it leads to a place of quiet anxiety where you go, I can do my job, but I'm a little bit embarrassed that I can't do the knot or the navigating or the fire or whatever, you know, whatever it is. And so I think smart survivors blend all of this. You know, we never lose touch with what's behind us, but we always keep our eye on where we're going in the future. But it is interesting how you can't get rid of the hundreds of thousands of years of evolution in a generation. You know, why is it I can sit the most powerful people in the world, you know, the biggest superstars or Hollywood actors or presidents or prime ministers, sit down and teach them how to make a fire, and they're happy for the first time in a long time to sit and not talk and just watch the fire and think and breathe and feel and stop and just, you know, why is that? I mean, there's like, because it goes back so far, it's deep in here. Why does it light us up in a way that, you know, the blue light from a screen doesn't light us up? Something's going on there. And I think we lose that at our peril. You know, we're not all going to have to go back to being, you know, woodsmen, but you want to keep a connection with the land, keep a connection with the ground, keep a connection with risk, keep a connection with adventure. You know, all of these things. You don't need to climb Everest to be a risk-taker and an adventure spirit. These things are state of minds, are how we live every day. How do we approach life? How do we approach our job, our relationships? Adventure, it's a state of mind. So I try and live with that and always remember the past and keep moving forward.
Stay free with Russell Brand. See it first on Rumble.